guys. So as I said, I'm going to go into a little bit more of like a day in the life of a natural bodybuilder and talk everyone through kind of like my nutrition and how I have been eating for this latest prep. So I did my first competition the other day. I'll throw some pictures up. And we came in about the same weight as the last time I competed, which was 2 years ago. However, I'm considerably leaner. I've got some considerably more muscle, and very, very happy with kind of the physique that I brought. Didn't place. I think I was very, very unlucky to miss out on a placing. The standard of the novice class was very, very high. There was 18 guys in it originally, so it got split into two. One class of 10 and one class of 8. And I think I got 4th out of 10. So much, much better than the first time that I competed, where I basically came dead last. And very, very happy with kind of like how things have progressed. So a little bit of a backstory, just because this does have a point. Decided to compete like 3 years ago that I was going to compete, so hired a coach at the time. That coach wasn't really a natural bodybuilding specialist. They were just a trainer that I'd seen had got good results kind of like online. So worked with him, we went through an initial recomposition phase, went into a bulking phase that didn't really take that seriously because it wasn't explained to me like the importance of it, and then went into kind of like a competition prep. So the way my diet was set up last time, having gone through it a second time now, was suboptimal. So we did a very, very quick recomp. I think it was like 10 weeks of a recomp. We then spent like 12 weeks in a surplus, and then I did a 13-week prep last time, which as a natural athlete is not long enough to be prepping for. And also in the building phase, like my calories weren't built up anywhere near high enough to work. My calories weren't built up because I wasn't taking the building phase seriously. So it kind of like hadn't been explained to me. So I did that first prep, left that coach like 2 weeks after I did my second competition, rebounded hard, put on like 6 kilos in like 3-4 weeks, and then basically tried to run my own training for a year. So took the principles that I'd learned, was doing a lot of, I think I would train 3 days a week and then 4 days a week, was still applying the principles of progressive overload, was still tracking everything, but did a bit of this and a bit of that, and basically kind of like lost my way with training and especially with food again. Tried to run a recomp phase for myself last June, failed miserably because it turns out I really need the accountability of a coach to be in a diet phase, just because I don't have I'm spending all day every day running other people's diets and training plans, so it's like a busman's holiday. Like making the decisions about my own training and my own nutrition just like tips me over the edge, and I'm very emotional when it comes to pulling food and adding cardio in, because I like my food and I hate doing cardio. So it's just one of those things where I know my weaknesses as an individual. So I hired a coach. I hired Jake, who's been helping me since last August. We went through the exact same process, but because Jake is a natural bodybuilder himself, he explained things a lot better to me. So he explained that we were going through the recomposition phase, we went through a mini cut, so it was more aggressive. We basically pulled off, I think, 5 or 6 kilos in 5 or 6 weeks, which is very aggressive by my standards. But it meant we could then transition back into a building phase much, much faster. But it was explained to me that when we go into a building phase, we want to be building those calories up so that by the end of the building phase, you want your calories to be really high. So my calories at the end of my building phase were the highest I've ever eaten. I think I was at nearly 4,000 calories a day, which was at a point where it was uncomfortable for me. I was having to put food into my system when I wasn't hungry. I felt lethargic. I felt like my digestion was kind of like starting to suffer. But we needed to push food up that high. So then when we then transitioned into my final dieting phase, I think we pulled like 200 calories and added in 5,000 steps. So my average steps was at 8,000. So we took my steps from 8,000 up to 12,000 on a 12,000 on a non-training day and 10,000 on a training day, and pulled 200 calories. So I was eating 3,800 calories a day and starting to lose body fat. That's the advantage of doing it that way, because food is then way up really, really high, and you just have to do a very small change and you can start losing body fat. So this is the principle that I bring into my own coaching program when I'm coaching general pop individuals. Is we want to go through an initial dieting phase that can be anywhere from like 12 to 16 weeks, depending on how aggressive we can go with that diet. We want to pull the body fat off. We want to see what your structure's like. We want to see what muscles there. We then want to go into a building phase, which wants to be at least twice as long as the dieting phase. So if you're dieting for 12 weeks, you're going to be building for 24 weeks. If you're dieting for 16 weeks, you're going to be building for about 30. So in that building phase, we want to be slowly increasing the amount of food that you're eating so that you're up at 3,000 to 3,500 calories for men by the end of it. So then we can go into a second dieting phase where your calories never have to drop below 2,500. I've had a guy that's just got into photo shoot level shape. The first time we dieted down, his low calories were at about the 1,600, 1,700 mark. This time we've dieted him down and he's now in photo shoot level condition. His calories never dropped below 2,600. So he was able to flexibly diet down to that point. He was still able to have takeaways. He was still able to go out for meals with his family. He was still able to enjoy himself and also get into like really, really good shape. So why wouldn't you kind of like want to do that? So what I will do from here, that kind of explains like the principles kind of behind a bodybuilding / prep diet. What I'll do now is I will show my, if I can dig them out, my diet plan when I was at peak building phase. There'll be a link, I'll put a link below as well to a PDF. So my diet plan when I was at peak building phase and my diet plan for peak week, and you'll see kind of the difference. So at peak building, it's like 3,800 to 4,000 calories, whereas just before we went into peak week, it was at, I think it was 2,000 calories on a training day and 1,800 on a non-training day. So we didn't just jump from one to the next. The changes that were happening were each week there were tweaks. It was 200 calories here, 200 calories there. We were adding in an activity. If you're interested in how this works on kind of like a deeper level, feel free to drop me a DM or comment below, and we can book in a 15-20 minute phone call and I can show you how that would work for yourself. So what you'd need to do is have some current physique shots and an idea of where you want to be, and then what we could say is, right, this is how that would look for you and how you'd get from where you are now to where you want to be. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Make sure you click that like and subscribe button. If you've got friends that you know that struggle with their nutrition and struggle with like how to structure like a cutting / building phase, make sure to share it with them. Anything you can do to help the channel grow is greatly appreciated.